Start us off. Okay.
All right. Thanks. We're here June 20th for our regular Board of County Commissioners meeting. If everyone could silence their cell phones, and we will just roll into the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you.
Silence my own.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. So if you just look over the agenda and see if there are any changes we need to make.
Sure. I only have, I believe there's only one change, correct, Tim?
Yes.
We'll need to remove, item number 3, the discussion and consideration of a liquor license application for Canada Real Estate Services, Inc., doing business as the Climax Revival. So I would make a motion that we remove that agenda item. It's not ready to be heard today. And I think that is the only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll second that motion to remove agenda item number 3.
Okay. Go ahead.
Any discussion of that?
No.
Then we can go ahead and vote on removing agenda item number 3 for now until that's ready to come before us.
Okay. I'll vote yes.
I'll vote yes.
Aye.
Yeah, I see. Great. Okay. So I'm spacing. Do we need to separately vote on approving the agenda, or I guess that was it with the motion to remove?
Yeah.
Okay. Community information items. I have none.
Nothing for me right now. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Mudge? Community
Thank you, and I'm
information.
sorry if there's a bunch of background noise, but Code Swap wildfire mitigation is happening, and the Swift crews should be here this week. They'll be here for 2 weeks and then take a week off and come back 3 weeks with a week off before coming back for a final 4 weeks. They're gonna finish off the area mitigation and treatment area around Community Field and Newmont property, and then move and for also simultaneously be starting at CMC. And then there's also some Newmont property that's adjacent to CMC. So we'll do our best to put information out there, and some trails may be closed up at the college, but we're starting coordination with conversation on Thursday to try to make a plan for that. So keep an eye out and be aware. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. And actually, I forgot one thing I should just announce. I, in a personal capacity, I did secure a board seat on the Sangre de Cristo Electric Association, which serves about 840 accounts in the southern part of Lake County, as well as all the way down to Custer County. So looking forward to helping out Lake County and the whole Arkansas Valley in that role.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thanks. Can move to public comment. I don't see any. Yeah, I don't see any in the room or on Zoom, so we can move ahead.
Okay.
Into new business. Item number 1, discussion and consideration of a mutual aid agreement with the Colorado Rangers and Lake County Sheriff's Office and funding to support the request. Led by Heath.
And you or me.
Okay.
So
Whoever, yeah.
So
Take it away.
This was a request, and it's my understanding we've engaged with the Colorado Rangers in the past to provide event support, essentially. So this was a request by Sheriff Speckman to re-engage them for the race series this year, so that they'll be on board. Submitted our agreement and such. It's been approved. Do we have it signed back from them yet?
No, I just reached out to Heath to find out where we're at.
Okay, so my suggestion at this point, I have not heard of any changes to it, so my suggestion would be to request approval pending final legal review.
Do we, it says and funding to support the request.
It wasn't an actual budgeted, expenditure. Let's see what
Does
we're
it put
talking.
the professional services line item over budget?
No, Lifetime Fitness will be paying for it.
Yes,
Okay.
that was my understanding, it's a reimbursement type that they'll reimburse the
Gotcha,
county
okay.
for it, so, but
Okay.
it wasn't a technically budgeted,
Okay,
thing, that's why it needed to come to y'all for approval.
okay.
Okay.
I don't have any questions, on that, so I would make a motion that we approve the mutual aid agreement with the Colorado Rangers and Lake County Sheriff's Office, on a reimbursement basis from Lifetime Fitness pending final legal review.
I'll second. Any discussion or further questions?
No, thank you.
Great.
All right, none for me.
Okay, we can take a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay. Passes 3-0. Approval. Thank you. We can move on to item number 2, discussion and consideration of professional services agreement with Teak Simonton.
So, I'm requesting, additional $3,000 for, a consultant to help with elections. Teak Simonton is a former Eagle County clerk. She has years of experience. And she's gonna come in and help us set up the new secure election room. Make sure so Dominion Voting is bringing in a new hard drive on the 24th. Want to make sure that we have the old ones all backed up properly, and then help with training of election judges. And so I have a budget of $500 in the line item. I've used $280, so I'm requesting up to $3,000.
Okay. I don't have any questions on that. I think it's good to have some of that formal election training and prepare for the next cycle, so.
Yeah, and that seems like a very reasonable expense to keep, especially given all the questions out there in the world on these issues, to just have that backup and make sure we're doing everything right. It sounds good.
Sarah, do you have any additional questions or thoughts?
No, I agree with you all. It makes a lot of sense for many reasons.
Okay,
Thanks,
I'll
Tracy.
take a motion.
Sure, I will make a motion that we approve the professional services agreement with Teague Simonton with the additional funding request from the Clerk and Recorder's Office.
Okay, I'll second. Any further questions or discussion?
No, thank you.
Okay, so we can go to a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, approval 3-0. Thank you. That sounds great. So we agreed to jump over item 3 and onto number 4. Discussion and consideration of the following special events permits: Beat the Heart Softball Tournament, Colorado High School Cycling League, Flaming Foliage, and the Trans Rockies Run. Marla?
You can, Marla, if you want to come up too, you can, whatever you want to do.
I'm fine if this
You're
is
good?
okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
So these 4 events have all occurred previously. They have approval names from all the referral agencies, and we've conditioned the permits for anything that they called out in their process. Would you have any questions?
I don't think so off the bat.
I didn't, and as you said, they're returning events, and I had nothing, I have no further questions from looking over the packet.
Do any of them require a liquor license?
No,
Okay,
they do not.
then I don't have any additional questions? Okay,
I don't, so I can call for a motion. I think we can do these all at once unless, doesn't seem like we have any particular.
no, I don't think so. Sarah, do you have any questions or anything on these 4 events?
No, thank you. All right, I'm just keeping my video off because I have to put my face so close to the computer to hear you. So I don't think you want to stare that closely at me.
All good. Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the Beat the Heart softball tournament, Colorado High School Cycling League, Flaming Foliage, and the Trans Rockies Run event permits as conditioned by Community Planning and Development.
Great, I'll second. Any further questions or discussion?
No thanks.
No.
For them? Great, we'll go to a vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, approved, 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Marla.
Moving on to agenda item 5, discussion and consideration of universal membership agreement with the Work Number Social Services.
Do you know if Janine's joining us, Tim?
We were
I don't know.
going fast.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
We can shuffle. Should we hop on to stage and, or, oh,
Well, it's hold on, the Work Number Social Services, it's a statewide program that all human services offices use. And I don't have the rest of the background information right in front of me.
Did you say you texted me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fine with moving this down a little ways on the agenda. So if we want to move this down to
She's gonna join in a second.
oh, okay, we can just wait for a minute then. Sarah, we're just gonna give it 1 minute for Janine to get here. I'll watch. Two.
thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
She's coming up from her office.
Oh, perfect.
Where, she's joining. Zoom's faster.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Are you all waiting for me on the work contract?
Yeah, I think we're ready to go, Janine, so.
Oh, okay, sorry. You guys
no.
move quickly. I didn't think I was down until down farther, so.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. We're ready to go, just on the agenda item for you, so feel free to
Okay.
just through it.
I believe this is the work number contract, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a standard contract we do every year for the state to negotiate or represent the contract on behalf of all of the county to opt in to participate with Work Number, which is an Equifax service that allows us to be able to call the number and get employment verification for any employers who are registered. through that service. So, questions about that?
Sorry if you already said, is this a new for us or just a renewal?
Yeah, this is a renewal. Every year, the state negotiates with Equifax on behalf of all the counties, and the state manages the contract for us. So this is our contract with the state to negotiate, and that we accept the terms and the work number. Yep. It's supposed to be a streamlined way of verifying employment, which works pretty well for us. We still have a lot of small employers and so forth that aren't registered with it, but it's proven to be helpful for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any additional questions for that. Sarah, do you have any questions for Janine?
No, thank you.
Okay.
And it's been reviewed by legal.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I will make a motion that we approve the universal membership agreement with the Work Number Social Services.
Okay, I'll second. Any further comments or discussion?
No,
Questions? We can move to a vote.
Aye.
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 Motion approved, 3-0. We can move on to number 6, discussion of the stage and rail resolution.
Yeah, if you like, what I'd like to do is when this information came in, I know that County Manager Tim Bergman had been in communications with the individual requesting this, and that individual provided us with a bit of information. I asked our law clerk, John Costello, to review the information provided and some of the historical information on this. So I'd like to have him just kind of provide a summary of what his review, the results of his review, and then we can talk about whether this is appropriate to proceed with now, or if perhaps we need to circle back around with the requester to collect more information to clarify what it is he's actually asking the county to do. So John, if you don't mind.
And Tim, correct me if I'm making a point, because you've had actual communications with Alan, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe they're asking us to designate a section of the county's roads as a pioneer trail. And the thing is, I believe we've already done that. I believe in Resolution 1721, we designated the section that they're currently requesting to be a pioneer trail. We've already designated it as a pioneer trail. It includes a stretch, what they've asked most recently, running from where County Road 10 comes off of 24, through some Forest Service roads, 130 and 160, and then up through the Pipeline Road, like you're going to the gravel pit, and then you connect with Half Moon Gulch, County Road 5, County Road 4, to the edge of town. I believe, again, that you've already done all this through Resolution 1721. If there was something different, then I believe we would want to hold off, because we need to check with some of the federal, before we designate the Forest Service Road at BLM, to make sure that they are approving of the designation on their properties, which is required by statute to have their approval. So we've either already done it, or if there's something different, we need to get approvals from a different agency.
I had a question on the meaning of pioneer trail, because I hadn't picked up on that term before, because I thought we were being asked to designate it like with that name of station rail.
Yeah, the station rail one was already done, and I think he had come back and asked for, I'm getting the impression he wants some sort of an extension of that, or ancillary use of that to some extent, if you will, that it be designated as a pioneer trail. But the resolution that John was mentioning already talks about designation of the pioneer trail, so I'm clear about that. And then the other issue that I think we need to hold off on is there's the information provided seems to indicate that the trail would cross some private lands as well.
There's sort of some disconnect between the strict instructions they've got on a draft resolution versus the map they provided. The map they provided seems to indicate that people would cross private land, which under the statute, you guys couldn't designate anything on private land as a pioneer trail. And I guess the pioneer trail is county commissioners can designate any public road in the county, or that includes federal or state or county roads, as a pioneer trail, and it just marks the area that I believe Zebulon Pike traveled. And so it's as close as they did, and it's the designation.
Yeah. So
And
the
is that
resolution-
particularly that section like along Pipeline where it's not actually
Uh,
a public road.
Pipeline, and then also how Pipeline connects to 11A.
Yeah,
Becomes a little questionable depending on which essentially dirt road you travel, whether or not you're on public or private land.
I do see Sarah has her hand up as well.
Is Sarah? You have a
Yeah,
question?
sorry. So that was like from Harvey, his, and I'm forwarding an email that, and I just don't know if it matters and or if we should revisit regarding whatever. I don't think I tracked the conversation around any of the private property concerns over there, but that was for a different trail. And so it seems that if we want to designate it as the stage and rail trail as well, we might just have to offer the same, if we're comfortable with that. But unless what John's actually saying is that if it's designated one trail, then it can be whatever other trail anybody wants to put signs up for. Which doesn't seem quite right to me, but
Okay, yeah, and that's part, I think, of it's unclear as to what he's asking for and what it all includes. Because as John mentioned earlier, that resolution 2017-21 actually designated part as the Pioneer Trail in Lake County.
that was a different request from a different group of folks.
But if it's already been designated as part of the Pioneer Trail, I don't know that you need to redesignate it for
I'm
a
not sure
different group.
Which folks she's talking about, it's
Oh.
like Alan was requesting the Pioneer Trail. I'm
Right.
not sure if it's someone else is requesting a stage and like coach
Extension or
trail.
something,
Yes, I'm not sure if there's two different things we're talking about, I guess. is what that
Yeah,
might
I'm
ask.
sorry, Sarah, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah, so Sarah, just to articulate that a little bit, it sounds like we need to understand from Alan the specifics of what he's requesting for us to do, because part of what is in the request has already been done. Perhaps by a different group, but the designation is already out there.
A designation for a different, that Pike's Pioneer Trail, not the stage and rail trail.
Right. And then, but there's a separate stage and rail trail resolution that seems to overlap some with this too, right, John, or?
Part of it, but it doesn't go, the stage and rail does not cover this section sort of on the west side of 24 that
Right.
runs through those forest roads.
Right.
All that the county's done so far is designate that area as a Pioneer Trail, which is again, what initially Alan emailed us about, was designating it as a Pioneer Trail.
Okay.
So that's why, maybe that's where, I think the agenda calls it a stage and coach trail, but
Yeah, it's supposed to be a Pioneer Trail.
Did you hear that, Sarah?
I think so. I guess, and I think Commissioner Fiedler said this, I don't think Alan refers to the stage and rail trail as the Pioneer Trail. I think the Pioneer Trail is that Harvey, and I forwarded an email from maybe 2017 through 2021 from a gentleman, a separate group that requested that same section is an overlap, but I don't know that the whole Pioneer Trail is the same thing as the stage and rail trail, unless that's what I'm missing from the conversation, sorry.
And maybe it's the semantics of what he's asking, because his proposed resolution asks for the Board of County Commissioners to officially designate certain portions of the public roads and trails as a section of a Pioneer Trail in Lake County be known as the Stage and Rail Historic Route in Lake County. And I think just by virtue of that name and knowing that you've already designated some and for the stage and rail part, that there's some confusion or overlap there.
Because I think because there's 2016-20, which is
yes.
designation of the stage and rail trail
Right.
in Lake County.
Right.
And then the Pioneer Trail.
Then, there was the one that already designated part as the Pioneer Trail. And so we're just trying to clarify what it is he's asking for and to what extent it is needed if it's not already covered by the existing resolutions.
because he may call it a stage and rail trail, but the draft resolution has the CRS cited, and that's to designate a
Pioneer trail,
So the
yeah.
title might be stage and rail or stage and coach, but the method is you guys designating a pioneer trail.
Okay,
Is what was referenced in the emails that were sent, and that's where, if we get more clarity from Alan, maybe more would come from that.
And we can maybe perhaps bring it back on the next agenda if we have room on the, is it the first July meeting or second July
second
meeting
July meeting,
for
okay.
clarification.
Yeah, I think that would be good, and specifically what that difference is, or, yeah, like communicate to him what has already been approved on those two different resolutions that were mentioned. And then also, I mean, do we have a plan for addressing the, like, overlap with private land?
That's
Or-
what I'd want to know, if he's already reached out to these private property owners, if there's any indication he's communicated with them, and if they're willing to allow or provide some sort of an easement for that crossing, or
Because we've not been provided with any current approvals from the federal agencies on the two federal roads that would be traveled on, and then we've not received anything that they have approval from the private roads that they've referenced in a map.
We just got something, I think Tim and I and Adam Ducharme got something this morning from Patrick Mercer of the Forest Service
Send it to you guys.
that, yes, sorry, I haven't had a chance to forward that.
There's more work that the stage and rail needs to do with those partners.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like the Forest Service is okay, but I'll forward this. I think the private one is harder. And I guess the question I had, because I thought this is what Alan was proposing, was that we could make the designation but not include the private sections. And the issue was, well, if you designate like 99% of a trail with a gap, are you essentially encouraging trespass? So all of which to say, I think what you were saying is right. Like Alan needs to do the work with those private owners to sort of separately get some designation in our access agreement.
exactly. Sarah's got her hand raised.
Yeah. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I mean, and for closure, like I am one of those private landowners, and that's, I was gonna summarize that proposal. That's the only communication that I've gotten, and then I kind of passed it along, not wanting to lead that negotiation necessarily, or tell Alan what, I asked Alan to bring a resolution, that was the resolution, to not technically designate over the private property in that area, which I'm not sure that that actually protects the private property owners, and then brings up another question that hadn't been raised when we did do that last designation of whether or not this is an issue that needs to be resolved or over those private parcels. So I don't have any more information than you may have from Alan.
Okay. So I think we just push this to our next July meeting. Yeah.
And then if you like, John and I and Tim or whoever needs to, we'll follow up with Alan, perhaps we could set up a meeting to have him come in and physically show us what he's talking about. Or if there's additional information that has been forwarded now this morning from the Forest Service and from Commissioner Mudge, that might be helpful with that. So we'll follow up.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
But I think, I mean, I don't know that we've taken like a vote on it as the board, but it does seem, I mean, we need to resolve that private, the private ownership sections that would cover it in it. And I think our view is that it's not good enough to just omit those.
Right.
I will say the section in question in the resolution 1720, the language you guys approved for Pioneer Trail was BLM Road 130 Northwest from its junction with BLM 160 to where BLM Road 130 becomes County Road 11A. So that was what was approved in 2017. That's the sort of language of the connection you're talking about.
Mhm.
It's, the instructions sort of implied that the BLM Road becomes County Road 11A, which is not quite what I see on maps, so,
Yeah,
there is an approved resolution with that language.
Okay.
well, that's, I mean, that's an interesting point that maybe we need to, like, update that resolution from 2017 if it's got a gap in it.
Yeah, yeah,
We can look into
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
okay,
okay.
cool. Thank you very much.
Is that good for item 6? Okay, thanks. On to 7, discussion and consideration of file 23-08, conditional use permit for 1608 Lincoln Drive.
All right, good morning, board. I'm here on behalf of Ann. She's at a training today, so I'm gonna present this file. It was a rather straightforward file. This is for an ADU on an existing home at 1608 Mount Lincoln. And as you know, the code allows, or requires us to go through the CUP process for urban residential zoned lots for an ADU if they are under 1 acre in size. It was universally approved by the Planning Commission. And there was a bit of discussion regarding the homeowner's intent to make this long-term rental only. And so this ADU, according to the condition you'll see, that was kind of his intention and the way he presented this file through the entire process. And so if he would like to short-term rent it, they would have to actually come back and amend this CUP to allow short-term rentals. So yeah, if you're okay with that, I can read the statement of motion.
Sure.
For file number 23-08. At its June 12th, 2023 joint public hearing, the Lake County Planning Commission unanimously approved with 4 members in favor the following motion. The motion was made by Howard Tritz and seconded by Abby Dahlman. I move that the Planning Commission recommend conditional approval to the Board of County Commissioners for file number 23-08, a conditional use permit application for an accessory dwelling unit on a parcel of land less than 1 acre pursuant to the standards of section 5.3.1 parentheses B at 1608 Mount Lincoln Drive, Leadville, Colorado. Further finding that the approval criteria pursuant to Lake County Land Development Code, section 3.6.1.f, have been met as evidenced in the staff report dated June 12th, 2023 for file number 23-08. The conditions of approval are: 1, approval is contingent upon all standards pursuant to LDC section 5.3.1 parentheses B being adequately met at the time of building permit issuance. 2, all statements made by the applicant in the application and hearing shall be considered conditions of approval.
Any questions before we go to a motion?
I don't believe that I have any.
I don't have any.
Sarah, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay,
Okay, I'll look for a motion.
all right, so I will make a motion that we approve file 23-08, a conditional use permit for 1608 Lincoln Drive as conditioned by the Planning Commission.
I'll second.
Okay.
Any discussion, comments, further
No, thank
questions?
you. No, thanks.
Okay,
All right,
none for me.
all right,
He'll look for a vote.
okay. I will vote aye.
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 Okay, approved 3-0.
Thank you, Bryce.
Thank you.
I'll let you
Oh,
go
yeah.
to the,
Agenda item number 8, discussion and consideration of Leadville Race Series road closures. Silver Rush County Road 2, July 8 through 9. Leadville Trail 100 mountain bike, heavy truck route traffic and County Road 10, August 12th. Leadville Trail 100 run, Turquoise Lake, August 19 through 20. And I don't know.
So we've tried to have this meeting several times. And the schedules keep changing. I do think there is still time. Claire's in the training today. I don't know where Tamara is, but I think, you know, in the past, for the race series, you know, you guys have experience with this, but I think the new one, the more important one, maybe Marley, you can help me, is the closure of County Road 10, which has never been done before. And would be it would be a very big change for the folks who live there, for emergency services, for all of that to have the road closed. But I believe for the Silver Rush, County Road 2 has been closed before.
I don't recall.
Okay.
I know at one point in time, the road was closed, like at the fish hatchery when you were going down County Road 11 to get onto the pipeline, and it caused a bit of contention. Closing Turquoise Lake, I think, will definitely have some implications. And I don't actually know if we would need to talk to the Forest Service about that or not. I know it's our county road, but we maintain it on behalf of the Forest Service.
Yeah.
I thought the proposal for Turquoise Lake was to go one way, not close it, because people need to get in there to make Green.
Yeah.
Or close.
I can't remember. But it was a change from what is done previously, yeah.
Okay.
And what's the, oh, there's Claire. What is the driver behind closing those roads? Just purely too much going on?
Probably, well, we can let Claire, sorry, Claire.
We just started, but you're good to jump in.
And I'm texting.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. What, so I'm a little behind the ball on this. What exactly are the questions that you guys have?
Well, so I'm wondering if you can, just solely for the purpose of being in this arena and this previously being on a work session agenda that we had some scheduling snafus around, if you can just provide for us kind of the background information on the request for the road closures, and perhaps your perspective from emergency management, and if there are any additional alternative solutions for this, or if this truly is the best path forward. So just kind of looking for some background information and just open dialogue, I guess, around this.
Yeah, could you guys please clarify which road closures you're looking to discuss?
Yeah, so it says that they would like to close the road, County Road 2, July 8th and 9th, for the Silver Rush 50, I would assume run and bike. The Trail 100 mountain bike on County Road 10 on August 12th, and the Turquoise Lake Road for the 100 run on August 19th and 20th. And we were discussing if the Turquoise Lake Road closure was closed only to one-way traffic, or if that is a full closure.
Mm-hmm. So for the County Road 2 closure for the Silver Rush, I have not been involved in any specific discussions around that. I'm wondering if that is just kind of one that's been done in the past for Silver Rush. I have been in discussions with Michael and Tamara around the 100 mountain bike closure, as well as the Turquoise Lake closure. For the 100 mountain bike, we discussed doing a closure for part of County Road 10, not all of it, just the portions that don't have any housing in them, so not to limit any residential access. And that plan was approved by Mike Irwin. For Turquoise Lake, that is more of a soft one-directional closure. That is the intent behind that one, is to prohibit crews kind of causing traffic backup along the road, but it would still allow for campers to access campsites, and not really close it down hard, so people and both campers and tourists hiking in the area could access that.
Okay.
Does that help clear things up?
I mean, sort of, I feel like we need to get a presentation and discussion with the race series and probably like Michael and Heath. I mean, if the sheriff's office is, I mean, they're usually out there controlling traffic on a lot of this.
Yeah, Tamara's trying to find the link to zoom in.
In the meetings we had, those that involve Sheriff Speckman and Mike Irwin.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
So Liz is sending stuff.
Okay, I think she just hopped on. Oh, there's Michael.
It's Michael. Good.
Okay. Hey, Michael and Tamara, we're just talking through our agenda item, which is a consideration of road closures for the Silver Rush 50, which is County Road 2 for July 8th and 9th. The 100 mountain bike on August 12th for County Road 10, and then the Turquoise Lake Road, August 19th and 20th for the 100 run. So I think for me personally, and Sarah and Jeff, you can jump in as you'd like. Just would kind of like to hear about those each individually, the events and the impact individually, and then just kind of hear from Michael on what he sees as his perspective as the road supervisor, because we've heard from Claire regarding OEM, and then kind of just go from there on, like, if we need a little more information or we need a little more time, can we put this onto a special agenda at some point to talk through? So Tamara, I'll kind of let you start, and then I think we can go to Michael for some follow-up if that works.
Okay. My apologies to everyone. I unfortunately didn't know that this got pushed to today. So I apologize for not being on time for that, and happy to jump in. The County Road 2 should not pose any major issues. I'll just name what is standing out to me. We will move the Pinderboy aid station down below. However, I guess there's some extenuating, and I need to hear from Mike on this too, of, do we have an issue in the Oro City that has just arisen that is new? We have not previously. I've asked a question. I've sent out an email or a phone call to Newmont. I haven't heard anything back. You know that last week there was a text stream going with some concerns around someone putting up some closures, no trespassing signs in that area. So I do want to hear from Mike. I'll just say the part that I have clarity on, which is previously Pinderboy aid station has been above that closure. Our plan was to move it down to the dirt at the crossing, where it crosses over just above the mineral belt, so that we have the aid station out of that safety zone. We do any turning around of traffic below that. And that is our essential issue. We've worked with OEM and with SARS to ensure that we have a safe plan forward on how to get things into the Black Cloud mine from below at the dump, and would not traverse over that in any way, shape, or form. We would stage 4x4s or side-by-sides up there for extrication on any level. We would have the ability to manage any medical at the Black Cloud mine as well. So that one in specific, I'll ask for questions. I don't see us, as long as we don't have an issue in the Oro City, I believe we've come up with a plan with Mike, with STARS, with OEM, and Mike, let me know if you agree with that keeps us off that road. We won't be using it. And as long as everything stands with Oro City, all the traffic would come down Oro City in terms of bikes or runners. I'll pause there.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with any of it. It's just the closure that's already existing. I don't know of any new closures up there. For just that section from Pinderboy Hill from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
But we've worked through that. We know how you're going to do that. So I'm okay with that section.
Okay, and so that section of County Road 2 is already closed due to safety concerns. So this is just kind of communicating that out to participants in the event that this is a closure that's already happening.
We'll communicate it out. We've moved the aid station. There's no reason that our folks should be in there. They can't get past it anyway, and we will have traffic support down there to make sure that nothing is going above the mineral belt. The traffic at any level wouldn't come above there. We'll do the turnaround for the shuttle. We will have a shuttle, and that would come below the mineral belt. There's that pull out on what would be the south side of the road there, and we'll use that pull out for any shuttle traffic. So everything would stop well below, back towards town on County Road 2, and we'll stop anybody else beyond that, so we shouldn't have any issues there.
Okay.
Okay.
So really, this is just a communication regarding expectations of those participating in the event to comply with pre-existing county road closures for the safety of participants and community members.
Affirmative.
Okay, Sarah, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what about is somebody gonna manage allowing crew through some of these road closures?
There will be no crew above that, Sarah.
No vehicles at all, not even crew will be allowed.
Nope. They can walk up, so the shuttle drop, that's what I was trying to explain, it might not have been clear. The shuttle drop in the parking will happen below the mineral belt, so nowhere near that. And then where that crosses over, where the 50 crosses over County Road 2 is just above the mineral belt from the dirt onto 2A. And we will continue to cross over there, and they'll be able to walk up and crew where they have crewed in that area with that aid station, but they will not be allowed to drive past that pullout to the west below the mineral belt. So we would not see any traffic up there. Crews or anyone.
Okay, and sorry, I think we did get to like focusing on the County Road 2 section alone. My question also applies to the others, but once we get there, I'm gonna talk about each of those, so.
Yep.
Same question. Okay.
Cool. Okay, so I think County Road 2, I'm gathering from the three of us, Jeff, I'll let you add if you have anything different, that with this being a pre-existing road closure to provide an additional layer of public safety, we will communicate to participants and crews and spectators and anybody else that this is going to be a pre-existing closure and that you're not allowed past this point. So I think County Road 2 is pretty settled, so we can check this off the list, road off the list.
Sorry, I don't know if Michael added this to your conversation when you all were discussing this, but there will, I think it's yet to be seen, DRMS, Department of Reclamation, Mine and Safety, will be up there probably doing repair work in August. We have not, they're getting funding notification in July, and then they're making their plans, so we do not, unless Michael knows and has talked to Craig about when they're gonna actually be up there to do the work, so. And nor maybe we just need to communicate to DRMS not to do that work, right, on this.
Sarah,
Sarah, the Silver Rush race and the impact on this road will be at the beginning of July, so in maybe 3 weeks' time. Michael, do you want to answer Sarah's question now? Or I see you have your hand raised if you have additional information.
I did, excuse me, I did talk to Craig Bissonette with DRMS over the hole up on County Road 1. And he did bring up that they do have a plan in place. They'll probably start around July 17th, and they are going to drill holes into the surface of the road and fill it with grout. So that the repair should not take that long, and the road should be open fairly soon. It's just a matter of getting people lined up, is all he said right now, as to when they do actually start on the project.
Okay.
Later than the race, but hopefully this summer that road will be open soon.
Okay. Well, and I thanks for bringing that point forward too, Sarah. I do appreciate that. Tamara, I'm wondering too if it's just in kind of your wheelhouse to reach those racers and spectators and just kind of remind them that you are stepping onto ground that is by no means virgin dirt, and that the ground may be unstable, so you need to, if you're here training, you're here participating in an event, you need to be mindful of the closures and the tape, and anything else happening on the east side for your own safety. Just because I know that, we've had that issue with the IBEX on 5th, and just want people to be mindful of that recreating over there.
Yeah, I can do that, Kayla. What I will do, I'm actually just finishing up some updates on the athlete guide for the Silver Rush. We will make a clear statement about that within that context. And then when we email out with that, we'll make another statement in that to all the athletes as well.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, so Silver Rush, I feel like we've kind of checked that off. Chris, Tim, does that sound good? I mean, it's pre-existing. We'll make sure to communicate on our social media channels and keep that going out there too. Okay, so the next one then is the heavy truck route and County Road 10 for the 100 mountain bike on August 12th. So I don't know if Tamara, you kind of want to start with what the request is there, and we'll talk to Michael about what you guys have talked about solution-wise, and then talk through kind of what that looks like logistically.
Is it possible for me to share a map to share my screen or not?
I think that you should be able to. Okay, now try to share your screen, but I think I just fixed it.
Okay, I'm a Teams person. Where's the share in this, you guys? Oh, I got it. Green button, got it.
Yeah.
Is it showing my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay,
So
wait.
click on that.
There we go.
Oops. Okay, now we are.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool.
I'll start here. This is not quite, but this will give us a demonstration. I'll start with the County Road 10 piece that's been in question for a number of years now. We've had accidents kind of in this area and around this area, if you can see my cursor. And talked with Michael about what are the options we have available to us. The request on the table, sorry, is to close from Cedar Drive to Pan Arc with full signage that week and prior that lets everybody in these neighborhoods know that from that morning, I believe we had it at 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. I need to double check what I sent over. That this would be closed until that would get us through the opening. And 6 a.m. is just really, it's earlier than the riders will come through, but it makes sure that we have everybody out of there and aware. We would sign that Monday. We'd work with Michael on variable messaging boards that we would place up in this area and out in this area to let people know that for 9 hours on Saturday, August 12th, this will be closed so that we can ensure the safety of all motorists and cyclists both, and essentially not have to deal with, it looks like this eliminates, does not eliminate anybody getting into their home, this particular section. So just Cedar Drive to here does not obscure anybody from getting into their private home. They'd still be able to get into this area, Pan Arc, and below this, and as well as up here, they'd be able to get into Cedar Drive. It would just be this section of road. This would drastically increase our ability to keep everyone safe in that area, and it would be 9 hours. I'll pause there. Questions?
I don't have anything initially. Jeff or Sarah, do you have anything? Sarah, do you have anything initially? Question?
No, I don't. Just communicating out that everybody, all the local traffic should have those other access routes. If I don't know if we could put Everbridge or something like that out, if that would be appropriate, or one of those mobile signs, but.
We do variable messaging boards at Cedar Drive and at Pan Arc that week, so the Monday before the race, to ensure people know in advance that it's coming. And then we did discuss Everbridge as well. So I agree with you, Sarah, that we need to make sure that we've got adequate pre-announcement to folks that would be closed. And again, the message that I would love to make sure we're sharing is really around safety. We've had a number of accidents. It's been a difficult section to protect, and without having to close everything down or not have the event, not that we get to close everything down or not have the event, here's an option that allows us to keep everybody safe. And it does not keep anybody from getting into their spaces. So 100% on the message.
Okay. I don't have any questions there.
Yeah.
Michael Irwin, do you have anything to add to that?
No, other than I do agree that this section of the road is the easiest to close because it does not preclude anybody from getting to their house from either side. And they can go from one side to the other, you know, through the subdivision. And there are not any homes or any driveways off of that section, so that's the best section to close.
Okay, I think I would just encourage communication with the Friends of Twin Lakes, to be sure that everybody is aware of this before it happens, and then that way if we receive, I mean, those people are on the ground out there every day, and so then if we speak with them and they hear about the closure, and then we talk about, you know, hey, you need to actually change it because of XYZ, that gives us ample time to think about a plan B. I would just encourage us to connect with perhaps the Friends of Twin Lakes, just to be sure that that is communicated out, and any kind of feedback we have is communicated to us if there needs to be a plan B that's talked about.
Got it, Kayla, making a note on that. I'll get with Kelly and with Twin Lakes to ensure that we have some adequate upfront knowledge of this.
Cool, that'd be great. I just want to make sure that, you know, I think that we've heard a lot of discussion through, you know, things like short-term rental conversations, in particular, like land use files kind of thing, that there is a lot of impact in that area, in particular with events. And so just want to be very cognizant of any kind of impact that happens out there is very well communicated, and that we are able to hear those concerns. And if we feel like we need to come up with a plan B, we have time to do that. All right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so then the next thing on that list is the
Not done.
run. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So the heavy truck traffic, just as a recap, last year was the first year we did this. We closed Harrison from 7th, north of 7th, or right at 7th, and then to 4th. And that initially started with safety. Again, it was a safety concern about the overlap between the intersection of silly humans on bikes and traffic coming through there early in the morning as we get this event off the ground. And just watching it the first year, I saw so many opportunities for some dangerous situations. So last year we were able to shut that down for a 2-hour period and get everybody out of there safely. This also helped us from a law enforcement side and just sort of an overview side of anything at risk. Like, we were able to really control what was happening within that venue and in that space, and have law enforcement involved. So the way that looked is we had a city PD car on one side, a dump truck on the other, and we did that at the other end as well. That way the PD could move out of the way as needed and create quick egress as needed. Again, talked this over with Chief Chavez as well, but putting that back in place this year, wanted to make sure we had a route, which I don't believe we firmly established last year. So wanting to get this established for that 2-hour period, that heavy truck traffic. And this is through working with Michael again to make sure I understood what the normal heavy traffic plan is. And basically coming from the north onto McQuethy, Mount Massive, and around this way as it's demonstrated here. So that's, and it would go in the reverse. It would be for those 2 hours only. This is, from my understanding, Michael, and please chime in, that this is the approved direction for heavy truck traffic there. The roads can actually handle it.
Yes, it is the approved one, and it's CDOT approved also to get around Harrison Avenue. And this is the one we use for boom days and everything, so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And then I think the last thing is Turquoise Lake.
This one is a little more significant. So this is again derived out of safety. I'm trying to find the right, let's try this one. So essentially working with everybody involved, all key stakeholders. So Sheriff's Department, Michael again, OEM, all of those entities. we have a historic issue that I think has been true probably for 40, maybe not 40 years, but certainly the last 20, where coming into May Point is such a mess that you would not be able to safely get EMS in and out in a timely fashion. And watching it the last year and a half and trying to come up with plans that work, this is the plan, requested plan for this year. And it would look like this. We would put uniform, it sounds like potentially Colorado Rangers right now. I need to confirm with Heath that we have those folks in place, but I believe we do. So we'd have uniform folks. We would make sure that we put them, that may not be the right spot, is it, Michael? Let me see if this is, so hard closure would be past Tabor Campground. What we're gonna do is protect the access into all these campgrounds. So just being clear that this isn't actually where this guy would be. He would be up past the Tabor Campground and then over here on this side of 9C. So everybody would have access into here. We would do a hard closure up past this on the Tabor Campground side. I'll show you a map in that area, but essentially one-way traffic. So in the morning, which is, you know, the run starts at 4 a.m. And at that point, we would send shuttles only for crews, no cars allowed in there, but we would have uniforms out there to help prevent that. Public would be allowed through. Always public will be allowed through. And that will be through a conversation with these individuals at both of these locations. In the afternoon, what we're proposing is, and again, that shuttle traffic would go in one direction anyway, but in the afternoon specifically that we would go one direction around. To help us, we would allow cars in, but it would be single direction. Counterclockwise is the proposed direction at this point. And again, uniform just past 9C and uniform on the other side. The other side would be sort of the hard closure. On the south side of the lake, the uniform would be there to help push traffic in the right direction, and they would be allowed through that direction. Uniform at the top would be turning people around unless they're public and have a reason to be going in there. Timberline, for example, access, anything that we access public wise, we would protect and secure and make sure that they're able to get in. Then send all traffic counterclockwise, park them with room for all emergency vehicles to get through safely and be able to attend to any responses out there. Move them out in the counterclockwise direction as well. That is the proposed request, and I can show you if you want, while you guys discuss, I'll pull up a map that shows that Tabor Campground area so that we're clear on what the proposal is. Question marks to begin with.
Sorry,
No, you go first.
I got lost on like hard closures. Sorry, I got lost on the hard closures versus the one-way with traffic directing.
Let's look at it here, Jeff. I got you. So we would not want to have traffic going both directions. We want traffic to go one direction. So we want a hard close up here above the Tabor for the event. And essentially that means not hard closed, obviously, to any public who's trying to get through for appropriate reasons, but this would be to all crews and race traffic. Hard closure here for the event. Soft closure here, not really closure, but here we're having a conversation and we're ensuring that all race traffic is going this direction around so that we can park them over here the way that we want to park them and allow access the way that we need it to get through in terms of our emergency services. So this spot up here, we want to be past the campground so there's full access to anybody staying in here. We don't have anything to do with that. We just put a uniform up here and prevent traffic from moving in that direction.
Oh, I see. So hard closure for people going the wrong way.
Exactly. Sorry. Thank you. Yep.
Sorry, my brain was reading the hard closure both directions.
No, sorry, and I'm trying to get it clear for you. So absolutely. Kayla, I think you had something too.
No, I just wanted to make sure that there would still be, access for people that have paid for those campground spots at that facility, that the boat ramps would remain accessible, and the trails around Turquoise Lake would remain accessible for the general public.
100%. And we have worked closely with these guys out here. The way that our cutoffs are set, we have not seen as much issue specifically at the May Queen Campground, the coming and going there. And again, they would have full access to come and go as needed. So that wouldn't be a part of this. We'd ask them to go the direction that we're sending people. That would be the only requirement. And then it has worked well so far to what I've seen. And that's always up for, it's only been 2 times that I've watched it from this vantage point. But the way that the cutoffs are and the change in when people get through there seems to coincide well anyway, so that this traffic moving here is not really it's not causing a dangerous situation to your campers and or your runners. So that piece has always worked well, and they would obviously have full access as normal.
And then Sarah just put in the chat, has RMR campgrounds concessionaire been involved in those conversations? So RMR holds the contract to run and operate the campgrounds within the Turquoise Lake vicinity, and so she was wondering if those conversations have happened with the campground concessionaires, or if that is planning to take place.
Planning to take place this week, probably. We'll be out there for the camp anyway. And typically we meet around this time, and we've met every year that I've been involved to make sure that we have the course going in the right direction, because it hasn't been, but then also to ensure that we've left everything open. And to this point, we have not had the direct conversation about the one direction traffic, but it is
Okay.
planned to happen.
Okay, yeah, and she said for notification, and I'm assuming that that's notification to the campground hosts, out to the campers using that facility, and maybe those accessing the boat ramps.
Say that one more time, Kayla, sorry.
Just to the campground hosts at each individual camp, and then campground, so that they can notify the campers and the folks accessing like the boat ramp, I think. It's just.
You want conversation in here to these folks?
Yeah, so RMR, Sarah, if I'm misinterpreting,
All right, Kayla, you're doing great. It's very loud, so I'm just not chiming in.
yeah, no, just RMR holds a contract with the Forest Service to station people that are campground hosts at each of those campgrounds. So just to make sure that the race series is in contact with RMR to say, hey, for this weekend, we're planning this one directional road closure, but it won't impact people that have reservations at the campground. But can you share with those people that are camping at the campground that this is happening? So I think just letting that party know that has all those campground hosts out there to communicate that out.
Got it, no problem.
Awesome.
I think that's all I have. Do I have anything else that was on there?
So Bryce just asked, members of the public will still have access to the north side of the lake. It's only Leadville Race Series that would be prevented from getting beyond that point. Cruise. Yes, Bryce, that is correct.
What will happen, Bryce, I think we have to be cognizant, obviously, of Timberline Trailhead and anything up in here in this area. And they will meet our crews, who will be turning them in a direction that points them in the right way. And the idea would be, we're not going to limit public, like if they're trying to get up in this area up here, Saguache Base Camp, we're not trying to limit them from getting here through this direction. What we're trying to do is make sure that this area does not become impassable, which is what has happened every year that I have watched it, and or before being in this role, it was that way. And I think the question mark becomes, where did they come in and what makes the most sense? Like if they're coming in from this direction, I honestly don't see an issue with sending them to Timberline in the reverse direction, as long as that's where they're going. If they're attempting to get around, say Hagerman from up here, that doesn't feel like the most sound direction to go, right? Like we would want to work with each of those on a case by case and have them follow the flow that we're setting in place. So wanting to keep it specific to the public and where they're trying to get, and helping them do that. And we can provide maps to our traffic control so that they're conscious of a couple of these access points that are better reached from the north. Does that address your question, Bryce?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for clarifying that.
Sure thing.
Can I add a thought? I mean, so I think just in your communication to the race crews, like you just need to make them know that they could see traffic coming the other way. Like it's not actually an enforced one-way circuit. If people are gonna, if non-race crews can go from Tabor counterclockwise, people need to know that, because otherwise, like if you leave Mayqueen thinking you can like jet down to your next cruise station and you won't see traffic coming head on, that needs to be communicated super clearly to people, because people will tear through there if it's one way.
It's a fair point, Jeff, for sure. I hear you. And I would bring that back to our group and just say, like, I think when I wrote this initially, my thought process was we would send everybody the same direction and not have that issue. But given the fact that we do have these 2 points, well, at this point in particular, Timberline is not so much. And, you know, we're going to do everything we can in our world and work with Michael again to ensure that we place variable messaging boards out here early to let people know of that coming piece for that weekend, you know. And I think the question mark I have here is, it makes sense to send folks here, if they're just going up into this area, to send them this way. However, does it make sense to send Timberline all this way or to send them back? Like, what do you guys want to see for the public so that we protect the public's experience? That's a big question.
In my head of how many extra miles you add going clockwise.
I mean, are we comfortable to say, hey, we're going to message the heck out of this. We're going to maybe upset 1 or 2 humans, because somebody's going to be, whether it's on the race series side or somebody, and get through a learning curve where people become accustomed to this being a one-way thing, and keep it at that, which keeps everybody safe. We will still, just to be clear, we will still 100% communicate with everybody to drive at 20 miles an hour, you know, and to observe all the laws around the lake and not expect that they're only ones out there. But I think from our side of things, do we want to set the stage and the precedence that it is going to be one direction for everybody, and just build that momentum over the next couple of years so that we can, I mean, I'm at the point where if this doesn't work, then we're shuttles only out there next year. We're trying to take care of our runners if we can, because by the time they come back at that time of night, they are pretty beat up, and not have the facility get overwhelmed and not be able to manage it, and allow for what the crews may be able to offer them at that point. And so I will just say that my stepping stone is this: if this doesn't work, the next stepping stone is it's shuttles only in the future. But in the interim, do we want to set the tone and the precedence that this is, we're starting a path of one direction, and see if we can make that happen for a couple of years and make it for everybody? Or do you want something special for the public?
Is there adequate parking at the Tabor campground or past the Tabor campground to have that closure there?
Parking in what way do you mean? Like, who would be parking?
Well, because so like you say that the closure is going to happen at the Tabor campground, on that north side of the lake. So if it happens at that location that you're talking about, right above the campgrounds, is there adequate parking for somebody to drive out there and hop on the shuttle there? Or are you expecting that?
I'm expecting that I would turn around and send them back the correct direction.
Okay.
I don't think we want to get in the business of a shuttle stop right there.
Okay.
Try to park people there. I don't think we want to do that.
Okay.
I think it's merely a question around the public. Like, do we want to have bi-directional to protect the public's experience specifically? And I don't know how many folks are trying to get in here on race day anyway. Is that 3 people? You know, I haven't seen that piece play out. I think the bigger, more vulnerable areas down here, which we can totally protect, and that's never going to be impacted.
Yeah, I don't know how many people go up that road. I mean, people do go to Valley View, that observation overlook.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
You know, The race is so much different paced than the bike that I don't actually know what the impact will be,
Yeah.
right? Because it's so
We
spread
try
out.
it for 1 year as a one direction, everybody goes that way and see what the pushback is and just get some information and data and move with it next year based on what we hear. We message it really well in advance to let people know, hey, this is what we're gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inclined, if I understood you, I'm inclined to have more, like, have the closure start closer to Tabor where everyone is redirected to go clockwise. Because also, I mean, whoever's manning that closure is gonna have to, like, I mean, like, crew folks don't always have a crew card. I mean, it's kind of clear from the stuff that's in their car, but like, I mean, it's not always clear who's race crew and who's public. So if it's just like this, if it's the same for every car, it's just a lot easier for you all to manage on race day.
I mean, my inclination would be that we just keep it the same for everyone for this year.
Yeah.
See what the response is. Now, ultimately, that we've picked the safest route, the big goal is we're opening it up for EMS to be able to get in there in case of any big situations. We've also now solved for an issue that hasn't happened yet, but it is liable to sometime in our near future, which is either some sort of disaster or something that forces a mass exodus or egress simultaneously. And we have now solved for that because we have everybody pointed the same direction and we can exit them safely. If any of that had happened up to this point, we would have been in a really serious situation in there and not been able, we would have had a mess because we had people going all directions.
Yeah. So I guess I'm inclined to have the closure be for everyone, either, you know, just past Tabor Campground or just past that overlook. I don't know.
And then if you're from the public using those rec sites, you've got to be turned around to go to them. Okay. I think that's cleaner. I think that's a lot cleaner. I just want to be very mindful of this being such a hot spot for recreation that I don't want to take away from somebody else's opportunity to recreate for these 2 days.
Yeah, but I mean, you still get to all the boat ramps,
Yeah.
all the beaches, the dam, the fishing
overview.
site. I mean, yeah, and even like the overview, if you go up to the Valley View observation site, I mean, I don't think you're adding that much more driving for people going to the other locations that aren't, I mean, those aren't the hot spots. Sorry, Michael, I think you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Mike, you have your hand raised?
Yeah, so everybody knows that is one of the main reasons that we agreed on this is that nobody would be kept out from going to the lake or not being able to get to where they want to go. It's just tempting to try to make it one way around with people, you know, going hopefully the same direction as the traffic, but can't guarantee that. But that was one of the things that I just did not want anybody precluded from getting to where they wanted to go for recreation, especially since most of the campgrounds and everything are already you know, sold out for the summer, and a lot of that's Forest Service that we don't have control on.
Yeah.
All we control is the road.
Yeah.
Sarah, do you have any questions or anything to add there?
No, I don't think so. And it's a small, if I'm following Jeff's comments right, I mean, I think Cameron intends to do that kind of hard closure, but anything it would make sense to just allow people, if they're going up to that Swatch base camp area, just to travel that short distance rather than around and add to the congestion. But I think it's a fine plan. I appreciate the effort and the acknowledgement that it's going to take monitoring and continued learning on improving before possibly having to get to kind of a more extreme shuttle based only. But thanks for making the effort on all these things, because we're just gonna see more and more people in conflict around here, so.
Sarah, to be clear, the last piece that we decided on would actually not send them through to Saguache from that direction. We would send them around. We would keep everybody moving in the same direction for this year, and then look at the feedback and make sure that we had not pushed back on the public experience to the point that it was overriding the safety.
Sure. Sounds good.
I think that's all I have, y'all. Anything else from me that would be helpful that I could answer?
I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah, no, just on your comment, I think I really like the one-way closure, because just having crewed a couple times at May Queen, I mean, people coming in both directions and parking everywhere. I think having one way, you can manage the parking much better as people come in, and sort of make sure people are parking in better spots. And yeah, that it's messy there.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to, Tamara, if you want to stop sharing your screen, you can. Okay, did you want us to put this into a motion? Did you want us to, I guess I'm looking at Chris, actually. Did you want us to, because I think that the special event permit, we approved it last year, so it's for a 3-year cycle, correct? Is that what the?
Well, that's what I was gonna
Or
ask. What the
how
status-
do we memorialize that with their special event permit?
Because that's part of that permitting process, isn't it, the road aspects? And so I think to the extent that the permit that was approved last year, if it is a 3-year cycle, if this amends that, that probably needs to be amended as well, the permit.
Could we invite the race series to try to capture this on a piece of paper and
With the
submit
request
as a?
for the amendment?
Yeah,
Tamara, if that's something that you're able to put together, because I don't have y'all's permit in front of me to know what the exact language is for it.
I already have it in the permit application that went in this year. It is in writing, that request.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
so.
So then I guess
Well, I
from,
don't
we
know.
can,
Look through it. I was waiting to ask as well, so.
Yeah, to see, I just want to see what language is in, if it's been approved, the permit for the events, or if this was still part of the pending process.
This was pending because I didn't know what direction this would need to take.
Okay.
okay. So I guess, given that information, I feel comfortable making a motion that we, approve the proposed, road closures and, alternate traffic routes proposed to us today for the Silver Rush 50 on July 8th and 9th. The truck route and closure of County Road 10 on August 12th for the 100 bike, and the one-way traffic on Turquoise Lake for the 100 run, August 19th to 20th. Pending final completion or final documentation of such with the special event permit for the 2023 calendar year. And that this will be revisited through an after-action review going into the 2024 event cycle.
okay, second.
Sarah, do you have anything else?
Nope.
Okay, sorry, now you.
Is it, you, motion approves the amendment, do we need to approve the permits as well? Is that-
Well,
I don't think we have those in front of us yet.
No, we don't have the permits, and that was the thing, it's more of it, unless I'm misunderstanding, it's more of the, and did you second that?
I did.
Yeah, okay, just making sure, more of making sure we have the sufficient information with the permit now, if it needs to be updated. Tamara said that, I think she said that was included in the application, so if there's anything from CPD that's needed in order to process the
Formalize that.
application.
Correct, and I think that's probably a discussion we could connect with.
Okay.
Just to make sure that we have everything as it should be included in the permit.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the motion on the table has the effect of sort of BOCC approval of these road closures, but the whole, which can then be included in the larger packet of the
Finalize the permit.
approval.
Tamara, did you have a quick question on that?
Just wanted to highlight to Marla, just in case it got lost in there, that once I had met with Michael and Heath and the rest of that team, I made updates to the operating plan, and it's in those operating plans. So I sent those over to you, and I can resend if I need to. Marla, but that's where it lives.
I believe I have them, but I will make sure, and then I will redirect them.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Okay, I think just my final comment on the motion on the floor, just to memorialize that, that public access to additional recreational opportunities on those weekends during those events will not be impacted. So the public will still have the opportunity to access recreational opportunities in the facilities that these events are happening on, and that the road closures will not impact that. So just putting that out there for any other clarification or anybody that wants to watch the recording to make sure that that is picked up on through these conversations, so. Okay,
I think we can vote unless there are other questions or comments.
Okay.
I think we're good.
okay, I will vote yes.
I'll vote yes.
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. And then almost final agenda item, final new business agenda, the Lake County Plan on a Page update.
Okay,
Sure, if you guys want to take a quick break.
That would
yeah,
be
let's take
fantastic.
let's, so we'll take a 7-minute break, so we'll be back at close to 12:35, but we'll take a couple minutes.
Sure. You ready, Sarah?
All right, so this is our first scrub. And what most of my clients have found is this is a really good time just to go back and review the philosophy, the strategy, the beliefs behind the plan on a page. So the plan on a page includes a lot of elements of what we would call very traditional management skills, making sure you understand your mission, what's your vision, what are the values that you use to make a decision, and looking at how you plan out into the future. The only thing that makes this really unique is the fact that we can put it on one page, which makes it a really good communications tool. Oftentimes, if people say, what are you working on? You give them a 48-page document, they get lost in all of that information. So we go out and we identify our core beliefs, strategic, operational, and financial, and this is what the BOCC did at our last meeting. Please understand that culture is the shared values, beliefs, and passions of a group of people. So your beliefs right here, you're talking about your strategic, operational, and financial beliefs. This ties to the culture that you want to create for your organization. We go on to our mission, which is basically created when counties get created. There's not a lot of differentiation to there as to why each county exists, unless you're home rule or statutory. The really great part of this is what's your vision for the county? And this is a tool for being creative and for identifying a pathway and a journey for what you want the county, how you want the county to operate. Your strategic operating plan and your financial management system work hand in hand to create a future that you want as the BOCC and you identify. Please don't forget that your land use or your comp plan is a third leg of the third-legged stool that talks about the future of your community. So really the hardest part for the BOCC is to say, what's our vision? Where do we want to be in the future? And you look back, who could have predicted that we'd be here 5 years ago and all of the changes that have happened? So it's not just identifying where we're going, but it's identifying where we want to go, creating that future that we want to be. What type of organization do we want to be? So we have that vision and we have objectives for the next couple of years. As we present that, you have your values that you identify: innovation, accountability, sustainability, efficiency, and being progressive. I have a list of over 200 values. Just because you didn't list a value on there doesn't mean that you don't believe in that value. But what it says is, based upon where the organization is today and where we want to be in the future, when it's not really clear what we should be doing, this is what we should look to for guidance for our organization. You identify your core strategies and you talk about how you want to operate. The strategic control panel, we're still really developing that, but you have your risk factors, your performance drivers, and then in the middle, it's like your speed, you're driving a car. What's the gas pedal and what are the brakes? What are the things that will help you go faster? What are the things that will cause a disaster for you? We work all the way down, and what we want to get to is what's the BOCC's priorities. That's as straightforward as I can make it. And so each quarter, ideally, the BOCC gets together in the last month of each quarter. So January, February, March. March you would update for the second quarter. April, May, June. June you would update for the third quarter. So we didn't do the first scrub. We're still working out some of the processes and how the kinks work. But here's what I can tell you is I think you're making tremendous progress. And you're laying a foundation for creating a new way for the organization to move. So when you think about that, you want to say, what do we want to accomplish in the future? What do we want to preserve and what do we want to avoid? And so that's part of the plan on a page. So you identify your priorities, and priorities may take several years to accomplish. And if we look at the history of the organization, some of these things we've been talking about for several years. So this becomes an implementation tool for the county. It's really important to understand that for each of your priorities, you have a goal, which is what you want to accomplish. That's why you're working on this. You have a project that could be a 2 or a 3-year project. If you were to look at a big capital project, or you look at economic development, those are the types of things that may take a couple of years. And then you have a strategy, how you're gonna implement that. So the goals, projects, and strategies, we keep track of at a staff level as a result of our meetings with you. And then it gets down to the AIPs, action, initiative, priorities. And there are so many strategic operating plans that just sit on a shelf. It's become, they get too big, they're unmanageable, no progress is made. So each AIP is, after you've identified your priorities, it's up to Tim and the staff to say, okay, what's our objective? What's our deliverable? Who's the team lead? Who's on the team? When is it due? What's the status? And we're also starting to talk about what is the resources that are necessary to do these things. Everybody says, oh, it's summertime, everybody's on vacation, we're busy. That happens every year about this time. And so you have to kind of schedule your time and say, how much capacity do we have for making improvements during July, August, and September? Then, October, November, and December will be different, and different types of priorities that we can work on. So what Tim and the team has put together here is reporting out on your AIPs, and I'm gonna, first of all, say, do you have any questions about this process? The fundamental pieces of it are not, it's what every business that is successful does. It's the packaging of it that puts it on a plan on a page, makes it a little bit different. But it's really helpful so that if, the citizens say, what are you working on? Say, here's my plan on a page. And we're working with the departments for developing some department plan on a pages. And in the future, we'll want to present their plan on a page to you before you do your countywide plan on a page. The reason you do that is it gives the department directors a chance to say, here's what I think is really important, and here's what we're already working on for you. That was the fastest overview I've ever done in my life, but I know that we're pushed for time. Someday I would really like just to sit around in the living room with you guys for about 3 hours and brainstorm and chit chat about this. And this is what the scrub should be. It should be the 3-hour meeting where we have time for you to get this vision and focus, so you can take out of your mind Turquoise Lake and which way are we going around, everything else, that we can really focus on the future. Tim, did I miss anything?
I don't think so, no.
Questions from the BOCC?
Well, so the more detailed scrubs are that time. I know you all are working on sort of a calendar of when different departments come before us, or chunks of these things, with the idea that nothing goes more than a year without being looked at. Well, no, I don't mean to say that in a joking way, like that, that would be good.
Right, and hopefully they should, every AIP, even if they should be reviewed every quarter.
Right, so in an ideal situation, if you wanna paint a good picture, but this is how you'll be most successful, you'll schedule a half day to do a scrub, and that's the more time.
On each of these.
Yeah, work session type of thing, and that should come basically the last week of the last month of the quarter, and you're doing it for the next quarter. So the week before that, or the meeting before that, give your departments that have a plan on a page, like Public Works as an example, we want them to come forward and present their plan on the page, the one for community planning and development, and the one for, is it Human Services? Yeah, so those 3 departments are working on their plan on a page at the department level. We do this at OtterBox, and they have 26 plans on a page because they're a big corporation. We do it at some cities, and they have citywide and everything else. We do it some places, they just have one. You're kind of that in-between size right there, and you got some major departments that are doing this. So, but that should be, a half-day workshop. And then you get the report from the departments before, And as the departments prepare their AIP to report to Tim, they should report out on their action items a couple of weeks before he presents it to you, so that he has time to sit down with them and say, okay, what did you think was gonna happen? What did happen? What do we think the next steps might be? But the next steps are always approved by the BOCC.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Tim?
Sure, so when we first started the plan on the page, you gave direction. We have, 13 different AIPs. I'm not going to go over all of them today. But those were the 13 that we have started with. The BOCC's direction. So we'll start with mine. And part of the reason, right, you brought a county manager on was to create a more professional organization. And part of that is we've worked through the past year and a half is, working on an updated organizational structure so we can better meet the needs of our citizens. And so been working on this one. So the BOCC vision is to create a culture, brand, and staff that is positive, professional, and committed to the community, which we have worked really hard on developing. And I'll show you throughout in the deliverables areas where we've achieved those. What we want, what the board wants, is an organization that is continually improving, creating policies with staff involvement, and therefore creating that accountability for them, and creating an organizational strategy and to manage change as we go through transitioning from managing commissioners and having electeds in charge of professional staff to having professional staff, having the Red River. Priority, while it might seem small, is progress. We're working on this. Not that former commissioners or former administrations were bad or anything. It's just there's 60 years of we've always done it this way, and this is Lake County, and why would we ask Chaffey what they do, or why would we ask Eagle what they do, or why would we change the budget process, or why would we do these things? So
yeah,
the priority is progress. Then you can see is working through on the deliverables. So working on creating the professional culture. We have HR policies and procedures. We have an employee handbook from this century, because I think the last update was 98.
Of the
employee handbook.
2014?
Okay.
2004?
But it was
This
just
decade.
amended.
Yeah, go with the
Yeah.
decade, that's still good progress.
Last couple of years it was updated.
Right. Creating and having financial policies which lead into our improved budget process, and our financial management strategies. We have conducted the internal wage survey to understand where our staff is at. We've also done an HR audit on HR policies of things that need to be improved or updated. The board's created the Learning and Development Fund that is accessible for all staff. And then the creation of the county leadership team to drive that team effort, and then breaking down silos. Another deliverable or part of that is creating a positive staff culture where staff feel appreciated and empowered. And that leads to better outcomes to the public. So over the past year, staff have received either a 10 or 11% cost of living adjustment to keep up with inflation. We do have a 9% retirement match. We created a merit-based pool this year. The BOCC covered the cost of health insurance premiums, the increases for 2023, so premium rates for staff stayed at 2022 rates. We have multiple staff appreciation events throughout the year. We elevated 28 FTE last year to a base salary of $40,000. We're working on the bilingual pay differential. So these are just some of the things where we have engaged with staff and to create a culture where it's not going to one commissioner, one commissioner and getting, yes, I can have a raise, and then going to the other commissioner and yes, I can get a raise. So, so actually having policies and procedures in place to ensure that staff understand, how they can advance at the organization and that leadership does value their contributions to our community. We've had a lot of internal organizational changes. Really around enhancing efficiencies at the department. So we've expanded our finance office. We created the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space department to expand upon the role of recreation, because we, this county does a lot of things that no other county does, like manage parks and rec. That's usually a municipal function, but we do that here. So here we wanted to expand that part of the department, and then also focusing on open space, which is a priority for the BOCC. Pros department has a cost recovery strategy that the new director is working on implementing, or will have recommendations for the BOCC. We created and expanded the former building and land use department into community planning and development to have a more holistic approach to development in the community. We've created a performance review process, and one that we are sticking to. All directors are working on their performance reviews, while staff right now, they are due by the end of July. That's one thing that the county's never really done before. We go back to the clear HR policies, and you have hired a county manager, and we now have in-house county attorney, so that we can manage legal expenses better. Chris and I get along great, so that's a good thing. We have worked hard on internal and external communications. Sarah Edwards is starting today as our communications director.
Yay.
So those will only continue to improve. And there's been a lot of staff buy-in, whether at the CLT level or even on all staff levels, with me meeting with staff on what things can be done to make Lake County an employer of choice, which I think we've been able to see by our recruitment efforts and the talent that we're able to bring into the organization, that all of these efforts are paying off and it's noticed across the community. So all of these deliverables right now, I mean, they are green, they are ongoing projects. It's easy to create the HR policies. It's very hard to implement them and to change the culture of this organization. So all of those will be ongoing. But these are just some of the things that we've worked on for the past year and a half and have been able to accomplish. Resources needed for this. So a lot of it has been at CLT, so that's a bi-weekly hour and a half long meeting. Allie and me spend a lot of time together, as does the finance office, same with Chris, and then of course we have Dallas, and then getting the BOCC's input to ensure that we're focusing on areas that you want.
So
It's in progress.
Okay, status is in progress. So as we evolve this process, and let's just say this was the 4-hour living room version of this process, as everybody presents their AIPs, we would ask two things. What's the success that we should celebrate, and what were the lessons learned? And the success is because we have a lot of success. We're making a lot of progress, and we want everybody to know about that success. So what would you say were some of the greatest successes that you'd want to celebrate?
I would think in terms of successes, it's been, our retention rate is high. We've been able to weed out people who didn't need to be here, and that helped create a culture where it is a good place to work and people get along. We have a very strong team and an eager team that wants to learn and break down barriers amongst departments and not be siloed. I think some of this, adding into those successes is every change is not met by like a group resistance. There's a willingness and a desire to change at the county.
I think that's huge, and so you see all these flip charts around the room? We would write that down, just so we get it documented, so we'd have our notes from each meeting,
Okay,
and that becomes just part of your documentation this meeting. The second thing is you wanna say, okay, what are the lessons learned? Because even if organizational structure carries on, there may be other people that are working on this priority in the future. So Tim wants all of his leadership team and everybody else to know, what are the lessons learned that he's working on this? So this doesn't become a silo, so that it becomes, maybe next time, Liz is in charge of the project or somebody else. But if we were to look at that, what do you think are some of the best lessons learned as you worked on this over the last few weeks?
Yeah, big one is just like the internal communications and making sure that everyone understands the change that is happening. There were some departments and some staff push back on like the performance review process, mainly because they've worked here for 20 years and they've never had a performance review. So why start now? So really ensuring that the internal communications are going out and that people know where we're at, aside from just relying on my leadership team to have them push the information down into the organization. So that's probably one of the biggest lessons learned.
Okay, so then as each AIP comes forward, Tim doesn't get to say, I did a great job. What happens basically is the board and the other people say, okay, did he provide the deliverable that was expected for this 3 months? The priority may still continue to exist, a professional, innovative, productive organization. But did he deliver the things that we talked about for this quarter? And it's up to you guys to decide, did he or not?
are we deciding that right now?
Yeah, you go, yeah, I think he did, because you will get some action items at some time and somebody will say, okay, I'll pick on finance since I'm a part of finance. Hey, did you do the new chart of accounts?
Yeah.
And, okay, well, we worked on it for 3 months. No, that doesn't fly. I wanna see a
Progress.
draft of your chart of accounts.
Okay.
Do you wanna go back to the deliverables page,
Yeah.
for doing this?
So there's more. I'm sure there's more.
Well, I can see part of the discussion, sorry, not all the time will every single one of these be green for every AIP.
Absolutely, as a matter of fact.
Just because life is life.
I've only seen one scrub after doing this for like 15 years of a person who scrubbed everything on their plan on a page and everything turned to green. That was a very unique and unusual, as that person ended up being the OtterBox Employee of the Year. Her name was Jane Everhart, so. She had some inside help. So yeah, they might not be green, and so they may come back, and they always start as red, and if they're green, they go away.
Yeah.
If they're coming back, they might be yellow. There is no orange, by the way.
And to your point, if they're green, they go away. I think some of these things are still, maybe there's like a finer grained, like creation of pros.
Right.
We have a director, but there's more to do, so that could be refined into some more fine-grained next steps. But yes, the pros department now exists as it's more than a box on an org chart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you'll see the progress as you get used to using this. You'll have something that's gonna be lasting 4 months. And the first one is, let's do research on this. And the next one is, let's do our implementation schedule. And our third is, let's implement. And our fourth is, let's improve.
Yeah.
So that's the way it always works. But this way we have documentation.
Yeah. And then we get to add new stuff.
Yeah, you get that. After you see all the AIPs, we get to add new stuff. I don't know if we're gonna do that today or if that's gonna be the 4-hour living room version. I would think it'd probably be the 4-hour living room version.
Yeah.
And all of this is in your packet, so you guys can spend more time with this and see where they're at. And we don't, do you want me to move on to the next one?
That'd be lovely.
Okay, alright.
No, that's, this structure is great. So, things don't get said and forgotten or lost or just sort of like muddle along for 6 months or a year or whatever. Like,
4 years, 5
Yeah.
years, a decade.
Yeah.
Right.
On that note, I just want to add, like, I know it's been, I mean, we're always chasing our tails and kind of never feeling like we really do get things completed, but that quarterly check-in is valuable even if we haven't, hit ideal benchmarks. We're making strides and I think as much as we want to hit our goals, why we might be challenged to do that is as important to work with staff and support them in creating the space to allow for them to get there. And that's important in the regular conversations.
It's huge because it shows progress.
Mhm.
Half the time it's just, getting the traction going in the right direction.
So working on the transition and implementing of the fleet program. So Michael is the lead on that. He's been working with Chris, Crystal, and Colleen. So the board has, talked about various ways, so we have our emerging asset management plan, capital inventory, things like that, but ways that, how we can manage our capital assets better. So, we'll live in the road and bridge budget, or it currently lives in there now, so we're working through ways of like, how will this new budget look like and like what will it be in the 2024 budget, so there's more to come on that. So the fleet program, right, is, on the surface of it is fairly easy, is that every 5 years, Lake County government, cycles in and out vehicles.
Right.
We had a huge win with Sheriff Speckman. The sheriff agreed that his fleet, his patrol vehicles should be part of the fleet program. One thing I've learned that across the states, sheriffs being sheriffs, is they want it their way. A lot of sheriffs just purchase their vehicles and then wait 10 years or 5 years, and then you have a huge capital expenditure. So we should be able to manage our patrol fleet that way, and then plus all the other county vehicles that we use and that we have. So the first part of it is where the team, and I'm on the back end of this, needing to understand what the budget will be for this fleet budget. So taking that out of road and bridge, and then perhaps it is creating, maybe it's something under Lance, who's our lead mechanic, or maybe it's a separate manager and under Public Works that would be over fleet and potentially transit in the future as we work on implementing our transit goals as well. So working on that budget, getting everything from there. CTSI has kind of, like basic processes and paperwork and stuff that can be used for checking out the vehicles, renting the vehicles, however you want to think of it. We did realize that we went over to Pitkin County and they have a great model and everything's set up and it works really well. And they've been a model for other counties. So we're going to use that model, which ties into G-Works, which is something that we already have. And then it's been between finance, public health, and public works have been the leads on this, so that is their time on it. And so as we start, you'll get a sample of this for the year-to-date budget presentations next week with Michael's presentation, and then as we move more into 2024 budget completion, you'll see the full breakout for a fleet budget.
Cool.
One thing that's so important is to understand that your strategic operating plan drives the budget.
Yeah.
Because you create that vision and say, okay, this is what I want in 5 years. The departments will say, okay, that's what it's going to cost to do it in 5 years. If we do this, how does it impact all the other funds and departments?
Right. Okay.
Because that's one thing that we've had to deal with this year, right? If a department, is using a fleet vehicle and causes damage, like is it is it because of a hailstorm in Canyon City, or is it because you were driving like an idiot? So where does that money come out of?
Yeah.
What parts are, and then also too, it will also influence Lance's budget, the maintenance budget as well, for maintaining the vehicles. Right. Learning and Development Fund, so the year in 2021, you guys had already started it, we've continued it on, and hopefully we can continue working on or having the Learning and Development Fund available to staff. So right now, each department has their own training budget, and that's for their departmental tasks, whatever class they need to take. The Learning and Development Fund is meant for professional growth, and that's to meet like broader like county goals and objectives and to be ready for the future that we're creating. Also working on ensuring that all staff have the emergenetics training and working on that to continue to build our team so that people actually know they work for the same organization. So overarching goals, reducing attrition, increasing the efficiency of county services, and cross-training staff. So thinking of that of like organization-wide, learning and development opportunities and how it can be shared with across departments. So we want to focus on innovation and being more efficient. And to date, we've worked on, the BOCC has created the fund, people have started to using it. Ally is working on researching various trainings and workshops and classes to support the county of like what, things that we already have prepackaged that people can take or do. We want to continue folks having emergenetics training. And then, kind of moving away from department trainings to more inclusive all county opportunities. So like you'll see next month as we start our DEI trainings, having those countywide and not just like specific to one department and not sharing the resources among departments. So continuing to break down those silos. Leveraging tools we have, so like CTSI, they have tools and trainings for staff. Some are painful, but other ones are actually pretty good and decent. And we do want to work on creating a leadership and management training for county leaders and our emerging leaders. So, thinking through that, like first-time supervisors training, like, hey, you're in charge of this human and this project, and then management and then leadership training so that we can develop a bench of great leaders here.
Just one comment on number 3, that seems harsh read to my mind as like something's wrong. Like really needs fixing. This just seems like, hey, it takes a long time to train 140 people. Like, I don't know, yellow seems like a fair.
Okay. We'll tell Alex.
Right. And it wasn't like, oh, emergenetics, like, no one likes it, we gotta find a different vendor.
Right.
Like that to me is red, like.
I think Ally was thinking this is a high priority. Red means it's a priority.
Well, that's fair. It's like.
As opposed to this sucks.
Okay, yeah, like we seriously
That's fair.
misestimated how hard it would be to make all these trainings happen.
I don't think anybody missed that. I think it just takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can only have so many people in a class at one time.
Right,
to get-
and you can only have them every so often, and they assimilate into the body. And, then it starts to change your vocabulary. It's like, you go to Loveland, everybody wears their badge on their side. Same thing for Eagle Vale, a lot of places. And all the badge is a reminder of the importance of communications and respecting other people's thinking preferences. In other words, learn to listen.
I think part of that too is for, as we can tie 3 and 5 and 6 together, right? The first step of management is planning, so people are thrown off by having all-day trainings or most of the day trainings, right? They're not planned for it, they're not prepared for it. They don't realize that, no, it is okay to clear your calendar and attend this training You'll figure out other ways to get the work done or plan it out with your staff, so your office can be open and not just randomly closed for 8 hours a day, so we can rotate people in and out. Also part of our internal changes. So the main leads on this, have been Ally, me, and Dallas, and then the rest of the team that has supported Ally. Ally sets very high goals, so she'll be done in September, so don't worry.
Cool.
And the fun thing is we can pull from lots of different resources. It doesn't have to be just me, it can be other people who are providing resources. Or I have other classes that I've done with other places that we can just bring in here and you can utilize. I mean, we've done leadership academies, Thompson River Parks and Recreation, Evans, Loveland. I hate to say this out loud, but we even did it with the feds. So
Okay.
it's there.
Awesome.
What did he do? Did he scrub it?
Yeah, I like it. I definitely view this as continuing to grow.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, I don't feel like, or I feel like in the status with the deliverables being completed by September 30th. I think part of the deliverables, and I don't know, maybe you can just correct me if I'm wrong, part of the deliverables will be to add new metrics and new deliverables, right?
Right, so Ally's looking at it as an AIP.
Just for this.
Right, or something, even that just for, the first 3 quarters of next year.
Okay.
You may have a priority, like communications or staff development, that stays on your AIP forever.
Right.
Just because it's something that's really important to you, so she'll have obviously 3 different AIPs between now and September.
Okay, awesome. Yay.
Our deferred maintenance plan. So team lead is Michael, then working with Chris, Dan Daly, Adam Bay, Fee and Karen, or Fee and then just Crystal. So on this, as we all know, the county has not maintained any of our assets for a very long time. So we have begun the work on looking at the costs and benefits associated with continued maintenance, then the overhaul of county buildings, or exploring new facilities, and then also trying to make strategic investments in our current facilities. We also, so for the physical footprint of Lake County government, I've joked about this in the past, but we are kind of hoarders. We don't need as much as we have. So going through this process has been really good, especially for staff, of realizing that yes, they can let things go, or yeah, sell that piece of equipment from 1970. Might get $50 for it.
But you want the insurance on it.
Right, yes it does.
I'm not letting go of the overhead projector.
Keep that in your closet.
Overhead Jeff.
So in Q1, Public Works did deliver and present the asset management plan to the BOCC. So looking at the cost of each building, continued maintenance and support of current buildings. I think from there, had them add another deliverable. When you did PROS supplemental budget approvals last year for this fiscal year, it was like a focus on enhancing the PROS facilities. So whether it's like lighter field, keeping things maintained and starting there. And then also, in this building, we have a new boiler for the upcoming winter. And then really what we will need to do on this is to come back to the BOCC after the master plan is done for this facility, and to see, to prepare throughout the winter, whether it's RFPs for replacing windows in this facility, and understanding like what it means for us being in this facility. So Michael was the lead on this. He does have the most knowledge on all of our facilities and buildings. So I think he just spent time with, you know, like with each director on how their building or how their facility is. And I think we need to come back before the board, either prior to or when we do get the master plan. For the budgeting process, we can identify 24 and long-range financial plans on what you guys want to fund.
Okay.
And maintain.
Yeah, a question I had with this AIP is like how it relates, like we were having a discussion about the, Dr. Lisa's office space and like whether public health can move there, and then there's like ongoing swirl conversations with the school district. I think like certainly Michael and some others are part of those, but I just want to, I don't know, like, I feel like there's some like bigger moving pieces that we need to get straight rather than like replacing windows in this building. Like in terms of like our space needs, almost like our budget projections, like we need to sort of like employee space need
Like what we're gonna,
projections, like
is this building gonna fit everybody
yeah, like
to be an investment?
yeah, and I
Or to be
agree. I
worth
mean,
investment?
and you mentioned like the sort of master plan, mini master plan for this site, like sort of what, you know, that deficiency assessment and what can fit to meet Justice Center needs if we don't take that pathway. I don't know, sorry, that was a bit of a swirl, but I feel like there's some, like there are a lot more parts of this work, or somehow this team needs to make sure it's plugged in to wherever those discussions are happening.
Part of your long-range budget process, that's why you wanna have that long-range plan that says, okay, you're gonna do something, it's gonna cost you $3 million in 2027. How do we make sure that we're either gonna fund it upfront, or if we're gonna have money for debt service? And, you know, then you start having the real strategic capital discussions. And that's the good stuff, because then you're starting to have traction, because there's been things I'm sure people have talked about for a long time around here. You can actually say, okay, this is the year we're gonna pull the trigger.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we can add more to this and having those deliverables, especially, you know, like the space needs assessment. Ally and I are working on that, on reviewing like the personnel budget, and then seeing where we're at and the vacancies we have and where I can take from some to give to others. We're trying to work with department directors on if they will need any FTE requests for 2024, knowing that we're officially out of space. So there is that urgency to it, and then there's the other, you know, like if public health and human services are combined, like the benefit to our community, that component as well.
Like that strategic placement of
Yeah.
services?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is something that we had talked about last year and started to, and I think they're close to coming to a presentation or a recommendation to the board on approved PTO and sick bank policies. So Ally's been the lead, working with Colleen, Janine, and Vanessa. We do have a pretty generous PTO and sick bank times right now, but as we look, you know, as part of our total compensation that we offer as the county, I think there are some things there to like unpack from that. So, you know, we had talked about one, staff not taking time off, which is annoying, but it also has created $1 million liability for the county with the amount of PTO that is built up across all staff. So thinking through what like future PTO could look like. But then also having some kind of sick bank, because we do have sick time. You know, people don't get that when they leave someone has a terrible illness or terrible accident or terrible injury or whatever, but they don't have enough sick time built up, like if we could create so people could, donate their sick time to a bank that could be used by other staff. And again, back to making sure that our staff feel good being employees here. So we have discussed the sick bank policies at CLT, which will come up, to you guys at some point soon. We did a comp with other like similar sized organizations, so Lake County is doing good with where we're at. But just seeing any other tweaks that we might need to do there, and then we did, as you remember, the state created the family and medical leave, I can't remember what the I stands for, insurance program, which the county opted out of because we offer better leave than what family would offer to staff. However, it is, could still, no, it's not an option for staff.
No, we opted out totally.
Yeah, completely, yep.
So with number 2, does that mean that, I guess we'll find this out in the presentation, but does that say that our leave compared to similar sized organizations, that the liability may not be as big as we initially thought or anticipated, or?
I think it's just when you look at everybody, like when you look at the liability of everybody added together and you're like, oh, sweet.
That's really not as bad as we.
Right.
Okay.
Cool. But it is still something that we do need to consider.
Oh, yeah.
About, like with the state had the same problem, right? Your longevity at the organization, you got more PTO, but cool, I have a month worth of PTO saved up, like, I'm gonna take a month off, cool, but, or, what that means for the organization. Because we're also trying to get into a better culture of people taking time off, enjoying their time off, like knowing that they have a deputy in place, so I don't need to reach out to you while you're on vacation, we don't need to do those things. And we did, you guys had approved, so HR Plus is now JER HR Group. So they did an audit of all of our policies and then plus, staff time were the other resources for this. And Ally go back before CLT and then come to you guys with a recommendation for PTO on the sick bank.
Okay.
And then this one, which is a big one. So our road paving comp plan. So Michael and Chris have been leading this. I think they're gonna start to pull in other team members for this, especially as the county will see enhanced revenues. We have perhaps some proposals to you guys, but there will still be capacity issues with the team. I can't remember when you guys did it, but we have the asphalt road survey done. And I think, as you've seen and hopefully had good feedback from the community, but the repaving of 99 and 10 last year were huge, and we're gonna chip seal those this year so they last even longer. So we want to stay in the 15th percentile of the pavement condition index. There. So we do have the road maintenance plan. We all know, there are various priority areas in the community, or some roads are better or worse than others. It'll cost us 24 million. But that might be in 2019 dollars.
I think so.
So add some more into that.
Or 2019 or early 2020 maybe.
Yeah. So go ahead.
I thought the IMS report, yeah, in $29, but I thought it also had like a year-on-year amount. Like you would sort of pick your, like, you know, stay steady where we are, like get to a point where we're 10% better or something, and each one kind of spat out a year-on-year cost number. So what is that 24 million over 10 years, or?
I don't know, but I will.
Yeah.
So when I was talking to Michael, that 24 was based from when the survey came out, but that's to get everything to 100%.
Oh, so like if you had 24 million and infinite
Like
number of
swing
people,
Yep.
you,
Yep.
Yeah.
okay.
So the prior goal, I thought I saw someplace that the goal was 85%.
That's the pavement.
Okay.
So we want to stay at 60% wear, and that matches us with the national average of roads. But like, if we're talking about dreams, it'd be great to have 34 million and put everything at 100%.
Okay, cool. So can we just put like an asterisk in there at the 24 million of like, that's a 2019 number?
Sure.
I think that is some historical context that's important.
And I think the, go ahead.
Well, I think where I was going with that is like, for me, like the deliverable, I mean, that's great to have that goal, but that seemed like, I feel like we should have like that should be a stretch goal. Then like the realistic goal is like, make sure we have enough money and allocate it every year to not fall behind.
Right.
We were at least maintaining
Yeah.
what we have.
Yeah.
And if there are funds available, we'd like to make progress.
Or at least on the path to get to that other goal or something, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And we should have an idea in our head of like, that's gonna take 1.5 million a year, or
For the next 10 years to keep,
forever.
Yeah.
Like,
in perpetuity,
Yeah.
to keep
Well,
roads
it's your
at.
service levels.
yeah,
I mean, you have service levels in every department that you have. If you wanna change the service level, it's an amount gonna cost forever.
yeah. So, but I think like our goal is to not get worse, and we're gonna spend at least X a year to do that, and then absolutely a stretch goal of like, hey, if we can ever find funding or have additional funding, you know, we can do better.
Yeah. So part of that is, so we did, County Road 10 and 99 last year. We rented the equipment and we did it all ourselves. So we have that ability. It is, I believe it is probably cheaper to do some of these things in-house, right, than out of house or contracting out. But it is just a consideration of, where the public works or where the road and bridge team is spending their time and how they plan out their summers. Instead of, offering up road and bridge, like, oh, they could do in-kind work here, do that there. Like, no, they have a priority, and the priority is to get these roads done.
So it's cheaper, but something else isn't getting done.
Yes, so there's a trade-off to that. We do have, we do have the ability here to recycle asphalt, the old asphalt, we can do that. And then also we have the hot plant down at the gravel pit, so we can literally do it all in-house. But there's that trade-off there as well.
Do we need to increase staff by quite a bit to do some of that seasonal?
Potentially, or maybe contracting with like smaller teams, or, I don't know if any efficiencies would have been driven between like the airport work and this, like in terms of ordering, yes, they coordinate like ordering all the asphalt and stuff, but, so it's a good question.
Okay. Cool, sounds good.
And then we can ask Michael to kind of, do a presentation on the road survey, Jeff, and then where we're at, where we can go, or if there are areas that the commissioners would like to see focused. And then also, I wanted to tie that one back, so if we go back to the plan on the page, right? Chris and I have worked hard still, it's not an AIP, but like establishing an IGA policy or how those things work, because you'll be seeing one here soon, probably coming from Road and Bridge, because there's part of, in McQuethy that will be repaved this summer, but not all of it are our streets, so like, what does it look like, on having these things, on getting these things done? And then also just.
Oh, because some of it goes into the city.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and just ensuring, that the VOCC's, vision is met and that we, wind down paying for things for every other jurisdiction.
Do we ever contract with the school district to pay some of their stuff? Just curious.
I don't think so, not that I recall.
Just like if we're on McQuethy, their driveways all need work, and I think they constantly struggle with like when they have enough money to contract out to fix that.
Right.
I think I probably include that in planning for that project through an IGA process.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Cool, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And then now that we're back on the plan on the page, like if you look at, I think at the number 5 with the core strategies of the VOCC, developed, right, like I think we're utilizing and we're achieving all of those. Just wanted to point that out.
Cool.
It's interesting, as I was thinking about this over the weekend, and we talked about our financial management, it is really helping staff understand how they can contribute to financial management. Because, they don't think about it very often. So, if you're an hourly worker, you're an employee, you're at the first level, how do you find success? How do you find efficiencies? If you're a supervisor, what are the types of efficiencies you're looking at because you're looking out 3 or 4 months? If you're a department director, what are the types of efficiencies that you're looking at? One of the things that Tim and I was talking about this morning was the bidding process as well.
Okay.
And how, this is the vendor we've always used, blah, 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 blah. We had that at CSU when I was there, and we used the same vendor for all of our dairy products. Ended up using them we took it out to bid, and it turned out to be really good, so they got the bid, and every year they just increased everything just a little bit. And it went up, and so it was like $800,000. Well, we went out to bid again and found out that the market had driven all of the competition down to around $400,000 or $500,000. So that's why you do have to do.
So you had to lower, once you put that out there.
Yeah, so once you do the bidding process, you can do it for 3 to 5 year periods, but how does department directors do financial management? How does supervisors do financial management? Each one, and my work with, some of the department heads has been really encouraging because they're very excited about being creative and innovative in those areas.
Cool. I like it. Awesome.
So do we?
Go ahead.
Oh, Tim, did you have others, or are we back to, over there?
Yeah.
So how do we schedule, I've never called this out before, but how do we schedule a 4-hour living room scrub update where we can really have the time to get back in the plan, confirm our vision, confirm our mission? Like if we were doing this in the 4-hour session, we would look at every lesson learned from every AIP, every success. We would go back to our priorities and confirm they're still our priorities. We'd make a long list of issues. And once again, we may still have the same priorities that we have now, but we could at least identify if we see something emerging so that we would be early if we saw something happening that we have to take care of. Even if it's not a priority for now, that's the brainstorming session. And then getting to the AIPs going forward. So is that a work session? Is that a off-schedule meeting? How does that work?
I think it's just a work session, and I don't know if maybe it's just like the second Tuesday after the quarter ends. Or the second regularly scheduled work session after the quarter ends, so it would be like the 4th week of July, for example.
Right,
Because that will give Tim and some of those team leads to do an appropriate debrief and put in, like, oh, I hit this deliverable, or I hit this deliverable, here's something that I wanna talk to them about, to make sure
Right.
this is, it gives them time as a team to debrief before bringing that to us to share their debrief, and then give more feedback and input. And so I think, I don't know if it's just a matter of, like, we just block that time out in that regularly scheduled work session after every quarter?
well, or actually, could we do it the last half of the last month before the next quarter? So January, February, you do a scrub for March, and the AIPs are gonna be for April, May, and June.
Okay,
Then you do a scrub in June, and the AIP is gonna be for July, August, and September.
okay, so you're looking forward.
Right, then you do it in September,
Oh,
so.
yeah, totally, I think we could do that.
Yeah, and so if you do that at your work session, it's really great, then somewhere before that meeting, it'd be great to see, Michael and Ann, and I think it's Janine, right? Presenting their plan on a page, so you can see the progress that they're making. And, what they have doesn't conflict with what you have on a plan on a page, it should really support it. And it might give you a chance to say, you know what, I'm gonna let that be a department action item or a department priority. I know they're taking care of it. And then your priorities become higher level priorities and more visionary priorities for, where do we wanna be in 3 to 5, 7, 10 years?
So like, could we do that on the 25th of, oh, I'm looking in July, sorry, that's why I'm like, oh, that looks really weird. Could we do it on the 27th? During the 1 o'clock, or what do we have scheduled for that?
What month are you
session?
looking at?
I was looking at June, cause I think we wanted to talk about
At June or?
June, cause you wanted to set the AIPs for July, August, September, right?
The year-to-date budget sessions are at the end of June.
So those are already scheduled. So why don't you can we let Tim and Liz work at the schedule and find a work session work? And you know what, we may not be right on schedule initially, but we'll get to it eventually. I mean, as long as we're making progress, that's gotta be the number one goal.
Does the timing, I'm thinking of the timing of like the third quarter one, just wanna make sure it sort of like happens in a useful time to sort of inform budget requests. Or third, or, I mean, I'm assuming the fourth one's like too late.
Fourth one is for the first quarter of next year.
Yeah, so things already need to have been in the budget by then, so
By then.
really, that's what I'm thinking, like
Right.
the third quarter one is like, might inform.
Yeah, so it'll be in August, it'll probably inform the budget, but they also have all of this to inform the budget as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
And if
I
we
mean-
could put one in before then, I think that's what we probably need to do. Maybe even like before we do a lot of the budget process and put a little bit of a budget tint
Yeah,
or angle on that particular scrub.
sure.
yeah, I think maybe again, hunt to Tim and Liz about scheduling different things, like just sort of make sure that either the second or third scrub of the year happens in a useful time, like not too early or not too late to feed into when you're getting like new or wish list budget items from departments.
Yeah.
I might be overthinking the magic time.
I think we can figure out the schedule. And, but the whole idea being that that's much more of a facilitated process. It's a little bit longer, that's the only thing on your agenda. And it's, you have 4 of those work sessions a year, those are your 4 scrubs. And if we can just get far enough ahead on it, we can look at your annual schedule for work sessions and put that there. And then I don't know if the departments report out to you just at a prior work session or a prior meeting or wherever, but just to give them a chance to let you know what they're doing.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll leave it up to Tim and Liz to come up with some scheduling for us that seems appropriate. And then what homework should we have prepared for that scrub?
I think,
We're going to set those new deliverables. Is there something different that we need to do from our view?
the hardest part is saying, where do we want our organization to be in 3 and 5 years?
Okay,
You know, and then what's the difference between where we're at now and where we wanna be in 3 to 5 years? Cause that's the why things are changing. Why are the goals of what's changing? So, you know, what do you want it to be like in 3 to 5 years?
mhm,
And, you know, it's a fine balancing act between, you don't wanna be too wishy-washy and sky in the pie, cause it becomes too abstract, you kinda lose that, but you also don't want it to be that we're still open. You know, that you have that right balance of aggressiveness for making those improvements.
okay,
So vision is the first thing, and then for each of you, you know, what's your top 3 to 5 priorities? And for, you know, some of those might overlap with all the BOCC.
true.
It'll be similar to the first one we did, but better.
So, and then when we do the scrub, will we change some of the things we will change some of the things?
Yeah, you will change some of the things that are on there. The mission should not change a lot, the core beliefs should not change a lot. The stuff at the top should be more consistent.
Okay,
And so, you know, your vision for 2025 should be somewhat consistent. You might be better at describing that vision for 2025. But if you have, you know, one year you say, this is the direction we're going, the next year, this is the direction we're going, you'll drive yourself and everybody else insane.
okay,
And then, you know, what are the priorities? And the thing that we've really been working on really hard is understanding, building you a financial long-range plan.
Yeah.
So you can say, what would our budget look like with or without the mine revenues? You know, what's our goal related to that? Do we want to take the mine revenues and use it for economic development or capital projects? You know, super long-term, even after the mine's around, do you want to have an operating budget that still funds reserves, asset management plan, CIP, economic development, or whatever priorities you might have? But it's that long-term vision thing, and it's really a hard job. People don't realize how hard and difficult that is for you guys, but that's your top priority.
okay.
Is Sarah here?
She's up there.
Yeah, I was gonna see if Sarah had anything to
I'm
say.
here.
I just wanna make sure, because sometimes I'm sitting here talking this way and I gotta talk this way sometimes.
No, I don't have anything to add. I'm happy to, you know, schedule the conversations, and again, just think we all have to just bite the bullet and make the time.
Okay. Tim, anything else, please?
No, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're done?
With this agenda item.
Yeah.
So I think we have just the consent agenda to consider. One slight modification, we just have the minutes from May 23rd, June 6th is in progress. Chris or Mike, can we just say that and have the consent agenda still be the 4 items with that modification? Okay. So seeking motion for the 4 consent agenda items.
I will make a motion, I'm sorry, that we approve the Veteran Services May report, minutes from the 23rd special May meeting, payroll for pay period ending June 3rd, and bills for pay period ending June 14th, 2023.
Right, I'll second. Any discussion or comments or modifications to the May 23rd special meeting minutes?
I didn't have anything when I read through them, but Sarah, did you have anything for the minutes?
Oh, there was one, like word, the rodeo had an extra letter in it, but that is all, nothing else.
Okay, so just that one typo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, look for a vote. to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. Aye.
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 Okay. Approved 3-0, and that concludes all our business. And at 1:45 PM, we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure, I'll have Jeff sign it. Thanks, guys.